70, я думаю, это должно быть слишком хорошее предложение, чтобы я опять начал вес гонять 70 килограмм.
I would like to fight Patty if they don't let me move up to welterweight to fight Islam, because the fight I would really like to have is against Islam in the 3rd division. But well, let's see. Maybe I'll do a fight and then in the summer there will be a date when they will let me move up a division and I can fight for the 3rd belt or...
Ilia Topuria is pushing hard for a showdown with Islam Makhachev at Catchweight, calling on the UFC to finalize the bout. In other developments, Chael Sonnen wasted no time commenting on the updated rankings once they dropped. After Islam reclaimed the top spot while Ilia remained inactive, Sonnen raised concerns about the lack of transparency behind the move. He noted the confusion among fans and criticized the committee for not providing adequate justification. This opened the door for his in-depth analysis, where he exposed contradictions and questioned the ranking shift given Ilia's lack of recent action. He said,
I'm a little surprised that Islam getting a victory and in the absence of Topuria fighting at all, I'm not quite sure how we flip-flopped. I think that maybe the committee owes us an explanation. The more appropriate explanation is we never should have taken Islam out of number 1 to begin with, but
Yes.
they did. That was the choice that they did, and once they did it, I don't know what their argument for getting that back is. Just by example, the next guy that beats Jack, does I expect him to be at number 1? No. Do I expect Jack to be at number 2? No. Then how does beating Jack get you to number 1 and get you in front of Ilia without throwing a single punch at Ilia? Like, this is the day-old's argument. This is nothing new. But I like Nate's point, and I do understand his point.
prior to Ilia Topuria revealing his interest in a catchweight clash with Islam Makhachev, he shared his perspective on upcoming fight possibilities. He emphasized his desire to remain active, though his priority shifts based on what the UFC permits. This prompted him to present two scenarios he's weighing for his next appearance, which involve either taking on Paddy Pimblett or pursuing a higher weight challenge against Islam.
Who does Ilia READY want to fight? Well, I have Paddy in mind. I would like to fight Paddy if they don't let me move up to welterweight to fight Islam, because the fight I would really like to have is against Islam in the 3rd division. But well, let's see. Maybe I'll do a fight and then in the summer there will be a date when they will let me move up a division and I can fight for the 3rd belt or...
Building on this, MMA Guru offered his analysis of the UFC's current matchmaking landscape, focusing on why certain bouts shouldn't happen yet. He argued that not every popular fighter deserves an immediate pairing. Citing Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria as a case study, he pointed out that Ilia competes at a superior level and that certain matchups would appear more like publicity stunts than credible contests, emphasizing the importance of maintaining proper ranking structure.
On paper, Usman's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. 1 win, 3 losses. Makhachev is at a point now where you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that fight. In my opinion, you mentioned, Pimblett getting a shot. That's why I don't want to see it. Even though Pimblett's coming off wins, you can't do that with Ilia right now. It's gimmicky. It's like, okay, they're big names and it sounds good to the casual fan base.
Following his explanation of why certain fights would be premature, Guru transitioned to his suggestions for future matchmaking. He laid out a strategy that considers fairness, timing, and fighter preparation. His framework ensures that athletes coming off losses receive opportunities to rebuild while keeping divisions organized. He also presented a series of potential bouts, demonstrating how each pairing preserves competitive balance and maintains audience appeal.
There's an order to be respected here. You got these welterweights at the moment. I think the next for Makhachev is Ilia. If Ilia wins a fight in January and then they fight at the White House, that is what's good. Because it gives time for welterweight right now. I made a video earlier, yesterday by the time this comes out, where I do every fight to make next. And my matchups were, let me know if you think I'm cooking with these.
Okay, good.
I want Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria.
Love it.
I want Jack Della Maddalena versus Sean Brady.
Ooh, I like that.
So he can prove himself in the grappling. I need to see it because that was too much of a loss. So I think that'll be fair. They're both coming off losses as well. Similar time.
Meanwhile, before Chael Sonnen dissected the UFC lightweight division, there was speculation about Ilia Topuria's next opponent, with several contenders emerging and fans debating potential matchups. The organization faced pressure to make a quick decision. Chael examined the available options, detailing how eliminating certain fighters from the conversation changes the selection process. He emphasized the difficulties promoters encounter when weighing unbeaten records, audience interest, and possible pairings.
Is that...
that just didn't mean next. Somebody's going to fight Ilia Topuria, and then coming out the backside of that fight, whoever that somebody is will be determined between Sarukian and Hooker. So when you take Sarukian and Hooker off the board and you're staring at the board and you've got Justin Gaethje saying, hey, it's absolutely got to be me or bust. And you got Paddy the Baddy that's completely undefeated in the UFC plus has an organic face-off. You're put in a pretty interesting position. I mean, you've got a lot of correct answers. As a promoter, you dream of being in a position like this. You dream of having 3 and 4 and 5 guys that can all draw, sell, and bring attention no matter how you do it.
After presenting the initial obstacles, Chael emphasized the significance of announcement timing and its impact on contenders. He mentioned that the UFC needs to specify who will challenge Ilia to prevent confusion among elite fighters. This explanation leads into a conversation about the value of transparent decisions, how discussions between contenders can be organized, and why matchup sequencing influences both fighter trajectories and fan involvement.
You also have to pick one, and there's a rumor, and the rumor is that in January on Paramount for their debut, they're going to contest the lightweight championship of the world, which means Ilia Topuria will be there, which means Ilia needs an opponent. Now, while we understand that Sarukian's in front of everybody else, does that mean he's just in front, period? For example, of Paddy, for example, of Gaethje.
With the foundation established, Chael proposed that a debate-style framework could help determine the next challenger. He suggested comparing fighters' records, accomplishments, and previous performances as an equitable ranking method. This approach promotes transparency, eliminates confusion, and clarifies the process. He also detailed how a debate between fighters like Gaethje and Paddy could function, ensuring fairness and relying on objective results.
And when Sarukian comes, and see the big chance to answer this question and not have to make it a mess is you just make that announcement, you make that decision, and you put it out publicly prior to this fight. If you have that decision but you didn't make it and you haven't made this public after the fight, now you're just adding one more guy to the board, which really convolutes things, and it doesn't change the situation for Justin Gaethje. Like a heads-to-heads argument. If we were to do a debate, right? Let's say I hosted it over here at Bad Guy Inc. I'm the referee, and I got Justin Gaethje, and he gets 90 seconds, and then Paddy the Baddy gets 90 seconds, and then Justin can respond, and now he gets 60 seconds, and then Paddy get right. You understand what the debate is. But if we were to hold one of those over here, a debate between Gaethje and Paddy, an argument between Gaethje and Paddy for supremacy, only using words, only talking about resumes and what I've done.
Following his mention of interest in Paddy or Islam, Ilia pivoted toward a broader concept that transcends traditional weight divisions. He clarified that he's willing to accept a special bout if the UFC seeks something innovative. His aim is advancing the sport, not stalling divisional progress. This led to his proposal of establishing a unique championship or catchweight arrangement that generates buzz and expands the UFC's reach.
To a fight, and then in the summer there will be a date when they will let me move up a division and I can fight for the third, and then in the summer. But well, let's see. Maybe I'll do a fight, and then in the summer there will be a date when they will let me move up a division and I can fight for the third belt, or a new belt will be created called the pound for pound in a catchweight, where we both meet and fight for that pound for pound. So let's see. There are many options as always, and we will see what there is for the future. It would be your request to make a new belt because one of the arguments against that fight is that they would stagnate, right? The lightweight and welterweight divisions, facing Islam against Ilia READY. Let's see. I say that the issue here is always to push the sport and for the sport to continue growing and not the divisions, right? But rather that it is something more general. I believe that it will have a very positive impact on the sport, that it will help it grow, which is what is being sought, and it can attract a new audience and truly transcend beyond the sport.
As the conversation progressed, Ilia was questioned about his personal dynamic with Islam beyond their professional rivalry. This redirected attention from potential matchups to how the two athletes interact when they encounter each other. Ilia noted that interactions are typically respectful, but a distinct atmosphere emerges when a potential fight becomes tangible. His response illustrated the contrast between informal encounters and the focused mentality that accompanies matchup discussions.
Whenever I meet him, he always greets me well, and I greet him well at the end of the day. I imagine that his dream is to become world champion. The bad news is that as long as I exist and I am at this weight, that dream will never come true. But hey, when we see each other there is always a certain respect, right? But then, obviously, when it comes to the fact that we're going to fight and that we're going to have a match and we're already talking about him and me and it's not like he's accompanying someone in the corner or me, well, that's when the whole thing changes, the energy changes and the focus too. It's very different, right? Finding yourselves as corners during the FWK than it being your fight. Yes, absolutely. In the end, we owe respect to our partners, to those we accompany.
After Ilia clarified that mutual respect exists between them, but the atmosphere transforms when a fight becomes realistic, focus returned to Islam Makhachev being questioned about the prospect of facing Ilia Topuria at an elevated weight. Following Ilia's comments about respect and atmospheric shifts before a fight, attention pivoted to Islam's viewpoint. He discussed the physical demands of weight cutting at this point in his career and why dropping to 70 kilograms again would be problematic, revealing that it's more complicated than fans may assume.
70, я думаю, это должно быть слишком хорошее предложение, чтобы я опять начал вес гонять 70 килограмм, так как я уже не молодой тоже в этом виде спорта, и каждая весогонка забирает тоже годы здоровья, и уже не так легко, как раньше вес гонять.
Continuing forward, after Islam Makhachev expressed his concerns about weight management, attention shifted to his manager, Ali Abdelaziz, for perspective on possible matchups. Media members inquired about previous chances for major fights and how Ilia Topuria factors into the current situation. Ali started by looking back at earlier efforts to organize historic bouts, noting how timing, retirements, and fighter availability affected whether matchups could actually materialize.
From lightweight all the way to middleweight. It was impossible. It's impossible. He's just too good, bro. Khabib is too good. He's one of one.
Oh man, did it ever get close to happening? Do you remember? Did the UFC ever approach you guys or anything properly? Or
Yeah, it was close, but Khabib at the time was retired.
Progressing further, Ali redirected attention to the present circumstances. He highlighted that while earlier opportunities fell through, the current environment presents compelling prospects. Now, with Islam competing regularly, the potential for elite matchups exists. He also mentioned that Ilia must establish his own reputation first, before challenging someone at Islam's caliber, keeping the conversation rooted in today's reality.
Khabib wanted to do it before he retired. Couldn't get it done. George wanted to do it when Khabib was retired. You understand? It was just, listen, George is a great guy, love him. And if this fight would have happened, it would have been amazing. Dana White, credit to him. He really tried to make this fight happen. But, it didn't happen. But now Islam is here. It's a lot of fights with Islam can happen.
Abdelaziz then directed attention specifically to Islam Makhachev's current standing in the division. He underscored that while fans desire major fights, timing and significance are critical. Ali clarified that fighters like Ilia shouldn't hasten into facing Islam yet, and that each competitor must forge their own reputation first. This establishes the groundwork for his counsel on patience, planning, and honoring the contenders in Islam's division.
He's taken a page out of Connor's book. When you're not relevant, you try to make yourself relevant through other people's legacy. He's an unbelievable fighter. He's very skilled, and I think he have a division he have to clear out. And after that, hey, if one day this fight happen. But you have to create your own legacy on your own. You understand? And he is good enough to create his own legacy. I'm not thinking anything, because he's a very skilled fighter. He's a very good fighter. And I really like watching him fight, but it's not a good time for anyone to fight Islam right now. I'm just being very honest with you. And Islam have a division, has a lot of contender. He has some contender, and we're going to go from there. But in a way, create your own legacy. Don't jump on other people's hype. You already have good hype, and that's it. That's it. But, you know, no disrespect to the guy. I got nothing against him.
Following Ali Abdelaziz and other analysts debating rankings and matchups, Daniel Cormier offered his perspective on the pound-for-pound discussion. He concentrated on why the UFC rearranged Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria in the rankings. Cormier detailed the reasoning behind the modifications and how becoming champions across multiple weight classes influences positions. He provided context for why fans occasionally perceive ranking reversals as perplexing. He said, "I get the point, but I disagree. Islam earned the #1 spot by beating Volkanovski. Then Ilia became a 2-division champ, so the rankings flipped. It made sense at the time, and we even said if Islam wins at welterweight, the rankings would flip again." Cormier explained how pound-for-pound rankings demonstrate genuine skill across weight classes. He stressed that achievement at different weights reveals a fighter's adaptability and ability. His argument was that the ranking modifications were warranted and reasonable, and they demonstrate why Ilia and Islam occupy positions 1 and 2. This establishes his view on how long the rankings should remain stable. He also said, "The pound-for-pound rankings reflect skill across weights. Islam succeeded at 155, Ilia at 170. Their flip makes sense. Ilia and Islam at 1 and 2 is correct and should stay until one loses, proving their pound-for-pound status." With all the fighters, managers, and analysts providing their input, the circumstances surrounding Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev are more transparent but remain highly anticipated. Ilia is prepared to pressure the UFC for a catchweight bout, demonstrating ambition and readiness to accept challenges. Islam, advised by his manager Ali Abdelaziz, concentrates on timing, significance, and establishing his own reputation. Analysts like Chael Sonnen and Daniel Cormier validate that rankings, pound-for-pound standing, and previous performances support current placements. The conclusion is that fans are observing not merely a potential fight, but a pivotal moment in MMA history where timing, reputation, and skill across divisions all converge. Whether the UFC sanctions this matchup could transform the lightweight and welterweight divisions and generate one of the most discussed fights of the year. Who do you think has the edge if Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev finally meet at catchweight, and why? Comment below.